Exercising for weight loss is, in my opinion, one of the most misunderstood components of a successful weight loss program. And I see time and time again patients putting a lot of their energy into exercising, typically not doing anything that even resembles the type of exercise that's necessary for weight loss, and then kind of being mystified or confused why after a month the bathroom scale hasn't changed even a pound, or if anything, they've gained a few pounds, and that's really the more common scenario. So exercise for weight loss works best for men under 40 years old and women under 30 years old. And really, you should be able to exercise at a very high intensity. Think running as fast as you can, lifting weights to the point of failure, really pushing yourself, drenched in sweat, gasping for air, very high intensity exercise, kind of giving 90–95% of everything you've got. Not everyone can lose weight through exercise, and I think it's important, if you're not able to do these, that's fine. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't exercise. There's a lot of other reasons to exercise. But to look at this, whatever you are doing for exercise, as the single and most important intervention that's necessary for you to lose weight is false thinking. It's not going to allow you to get the benefits and to get the obtain the weight loss that you potentially could. Exercise can never make up for a bad diet. The impact of exercise on weight loss, except for a very small group of people, is relatively mild compared to what we can achieve from diet. So if you're looking to lose weight, and you want to get started on the lifestyle changes, don't start with exercise. It doesn't make any sense. Whenever I work with patients in the office, I never discuss implementing any type of exercise program at the first visit. Patients often are like, well, what about exercise, doc? We'll get to exercise. It's not important right now. What's important right now is that we work on the nutrition and change the diet. We'll use exercise later. You can do whatever you'd like. You can either start a program or not, but I don't want you looking at what you're doing for exercise as having any substantial impact on us achieving our goals in terms of weight loss. So there's two schools of thought about exercise. One is that you want to burn a lot of calories by performing low-impact cardio exercise for a prolonged amount of time. And by burning those calories, you can shift the scale toward weight loss. And first of all, when you do the math, it doesn't add up, because an hour on the treadmill can be made up for in about 5 minutes at the dinner table. And the second thing is that scientifically, it really hasn't shown to cause substantial weight loss. Don't get me wrong, it's very helpful, and low impact exercise as part of a weight loss program is critical, but when it's just the low impact exercise without the dietary changes, we see little to no exercise. The two tend to work together, and exercise certainly enhances the effect of diet. But as a standalone intervention, low impact cardio exercise is a very poor tool for weight loss. What I focus on when I work with patients who want to use exercise for weight loss is to build muscle. And it really gets back to this idea we have of our set point. And our body's set point is at a certain weight, and it's defending that weight. So when we starve ourselves down, it's pushing us back, it's slowing down our metabolism, it's increasing our hunger to try to get us back up to that weight. We have to lower that set point to a new lower level, and when you do that, you have the opposite changes. You have less hunger, you have a faster metabolism. So our goal is always to lower our set point, not to try to fight against our set point. And when it comes to exercise and lowering your set point, having healthy muscle and using it vigorously on a frequent basis is how you lower your set point. So we have to push ourselves close to our max. And one way I often do it is having people measure their heart rate and using the old formula 220 minus your age as your max, and aiming for somewhere around 90–95% of that, at least at one point during your workout, where there's this one moment where you're pushing yourself to the limit, giving yourself almost everything you've got, digging deep. And when you look at professional sporting teams or Olympic athletes or even high school sports. That's how they train. They're pushing the athletes, driving them to perform at a higher level. And what we find time and time again is that nutrition and exercise that works best for performance also works best for weight loss. We don't have separate tracks. If you're trying to lose weight, you don't eat this way, whereas if you're trying to perform at a very high level, you eat another way. And the same goes for exercise. It's the vigorous exercise that drives the weight loss, not the low impact cardio. No football team is going to have their athletes spending an hour on the treadmill at a slight incline at 4.2 miles an hour. That's not nearly the rigorous exercise that they need in order to perform on the football field. And when it comes to weight loss, it's that same approach that works. So our goal is to build muscle and to use it vigorously on a regular basis. That's how you exercise for weight loss. And when we look at this exercise spectrum, what we find is on one end, low intensity exercise would be things like walking or swimming at a relatively slow pace. And again, all of these things can be adjusted kind of up or down. There's a range for all of these. There are some aerobics classes that are very high intensity. You can use a treadmill to get very high intensity. So don't look at these as an absolute, because there's certainly ways that we can adjust what we're doing on them in order to increase or decrease the intensity. But we're looking at walking kind of on the low end of the intensity spectrum, and things like boot camp or CrossFit or this high intensity interval training, something where we're pushing our heart rate up to the 90-95% max. And then everywhere in the middle is kind of somewhere in between. And our goal is to focus as much as we can on exercise at this high intensity end of the spectrum if our goal is weight loss. Now, if you look at this and say, this is not for me, I can't do CrossFit, I can't do boot camp, I need a hip replacement. Yeah, that's absolutely true. You should not try this. It's crazy to try this. But it also means that you're not going to be able to lose weight by performing exercise. Instead, we're going to have to focus our attention on nutrition. So it's about the intensity, not the duration. We're looking for boot camp, CrossFit, weightlifting, high intensity yoga. And when I do weightlifting and when I instruct my patients on how to weightlift, it's not this lift weights and then rest for 5 minutes, get a drink in between. You're moving from one exercise to the next, and your heart rate should be moving. It's really cardio and weights at the same time. You're getting your heart rate up, but also doing these intense movements to build muscle. The low impact or low intensity exercise like treadmill, elliptical, water aerobics, Zumba, and other dance classes, they're fantastic for you. And we'll talk about them and how important they are for weight maintenance in another video. But they're very unlikely to drive weight loss. And to expect that is to set yourself up for disappointment. As I've mentioned in pretty much every video in the exercise section, and will continue to, because I've seen way too many times the negative impact of exercise on your weight loss goals, safety is critical. And that's why if you're not able to exercise in order to lose weight, if you're not physically capable to push yourself and perform these very high intensity movements, you should not try to do it, because much more likely scenario is you push yourself too hard, you get hurt, and you end up laid up on your back for 2 or 3 weeks without moving at all. You lose muscle as a result. You tend to overeat in those situations. It leads to depression. It leads to frustration. It leads to you giving up on your weight loss goals. And the net result of that is always 10, 15, 20 pounds of weight gain. And that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. So safety is always the most important component. And if you're working out and you start to feel a muscle twinge, it's time to stop. It's not time to push through the pain. That's not something that is important for you to do. And the likelihood of you gaining weight as a result of pushing through pain is much higher than of you losing weight by getting past that and being able to maintain your exercise program. So some final points. When you're exercising to lose weight, it's about intensity, and you want to push yourself very hard. This is something that requires medical clearance. If you have a family history of heart disease or anything other than a young person, you really should discuss this with your primary care doctor before you undertake a vigorous exercise routine like this. And if you don't, you can again put yourself at risk for a heart attack or some type of event that is going to, in the long run, decrease your health and decrease your ability to lose weight in the future. Safety is critical. Young people get more out of exercise than the rest of us. And if you are not someone who's able to do these exercises, don't try. It's not worth it. And you're setting yourself up for failure. And one of the most important components is that we must set ourselves up for success. We have to think about this realistically. We have to take some of the emotional side out of eating and instead plan and create a solid strategy that is going to set us up for weight loss success. However, I don't want anyone who's hearing this to say, well, that means I don't have to exercise. You do, and really everybody should. And we have exercise advice for people at all fitness levels on the website. Exercise is an amazing tool for weight maintenance. So the idea is you use nutrition to help lose the weight, and then the exercise is what helps you stay there.